For over 200 years, relationships between the United States of America and other countries around the world have been built on the personal interests of the nations involved. But we live in a new era now, and sometimes relationships between countries are built on the whim of our current president. And beef cattle prices are about to impact cattle farmers in this country because of that relationship gone bad. Hey guys, my name's Wilt. This is the Back 40, and let's talk about it. Cattlemen in the United States of America have been riding a high lately. Our herd sizes are at an all-time low, a 60-year low. That's led to less supply of beef in the marketplace, and consumer demand has done nothing but climb and climb. And anytime you've got high demand and low supply, prices are going to go up, and it's been a golden age for the sale of cattle in this country. And thank goodness, cattlemen are finally making some money, paying off some bills, and the future's looking bright. Well, until 2 days ago. Now, before I go into detail as to why cattlemen are going to start feeling some painful effects if something doesn't happen very quickly, let me set the table for you a little bit. Now, because of the times we live in, the relationship between the United States of America and Brazil is based 100% on President Trump's love of former Brazilian President Bolsonaro. Now, this scenario may sound very familiar to you, but in the time that he lost his last election and the time that he was forced to leave office, former Brazilian President Bolsonaro did some pretty shady things to try to stay into office. And the people of Brazil and the authorities in Brazil didn't appreciate it at all. As a result, he's had charges brought against him for tampering and trying not to leave office, and he's expected to go on trial later this year. There's only one problem. President Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, really likes former Brazilian President Bolsonaro because Bolsonaro constantly praises him, constantly tells him he's doing a great job. He's kind of been considered the Trump of Brazil. And President Donald Trump, being who he is, doesn't like the fact that the people of Brazil are holding Bolsonaro accountable to his illegal actions after the last election. So he's stepping in to try to change the scenario. And in just the last couple of days, he's placed a 50% tariff on Brazil, and he did not exempt beef products in that tariff. Now, let's switch back to the United States for just a minute. Beef prices have been at an all-time high because not only do we have record low herd sizes, which is lowering the amount of supply in the marketplace, we've been able to keep prices relatively slow growing because we've been allowing Australia and Brazil to send higher amounts of beef into this country than they normally do. Well, with these tariffs being implemented, it's going to cut back on the amount of Brazilian beef coming into the United States marketplace, and it's going to drive beef prices at the grocery store even higher. Yesterday and today, I've been on the phone with agricultural market experts, and here's what they're telling me. Historically, one thing happens when beef prices or any kind of grocery good price reaches a certain point. Consumers switch to a new source. And that's what they expect to have happen if these tariffs on Brazil stay in place. As ground beef goes north of $13 a pound, they're expecting the American consumer, those mom and dads that go to the grocery store to buy hamburger for spaghetti, hamburger helper, and hamburgers in the kitchen, well, they're going to switch their sources of protein, probably to poultry and pork. And when that happens, we're going to see a reduction in the amount of slaughter. And then when that occurs, we'll see a reduction in the price in the purchase of beef. And it's already started to happen. Just since these tariffs were announced, cattle futures have tumbled, and it looks like it's going to continue to tumble unless something happens with these tariffs right away. Now, I want to claim a little bit of credibility on this issue for the Back 40, because since the beginning of the year when Trump first came into office, we've been talking about two scenarios that could occur. And we've been delivering this message to cattlemen across the country every time we go out and speak in rural areas and when we make videos on social media platforms. Scenario number one is that Trump would actually allow Brazil to dump beef onto the American marketplace and give Bolsonaro credit for that, so that if he were to decide to run for office again, he'd have that credibility and those favorable wins behind him. And scenario number two is the scenario that actually played out. And that's where we told you here at the Back 40 that the president could also place tariffs on or ban Brazilian beef coming into the United States in an effort to hurt cattlemen in the agricultural markets in Brazil, so that the people there would blame that on the new president and put Bolsonaro back in office in the next election. Well, that second scenario has come true. and it's going to be bad for everybody involved. So what's the point of the video? The point of the video is to tell you cattlemen out there that you need to step up and hold this president accountable. This is only happening because of his personal relationship with Bolsonaro. It's not being done to help cattlemen. It's not being done to help the American marketplace. It's not being done to help the American consumer. This is simply a knee-jerk, childish reaction to somebody being held accountable in Brazil because they tried to undermine the elections there, and the people of Brazil want to hold them accountable. And that's not how the marketplace in this country should function because of credibility and because of accountability in a foreign nation. Now, we say all the time here on the Back 40, we're not asking you to admit you were wrong. We're just asking you to admit you were lied to. And this is one of those times. President Trump never ran on the platform that he was going to tariff foreign beef, driving up prices to the point where American beef sales dropped because of a personal relationship with a criminal president in another country. And you need to pick up the phone, and you need to break out the keyboard, and you need to start telling your elected Republican officials that you're not going to stand for it. Because if you don't, and the futures market continue to play out the way they are, then not Will Westmoreland, but the experts in the marketplace say it's going to mean lower per pound beef prices for you in the long run. The choice is yours. I hope you make the right decision.